Today we're going to talk about data monitors. My name's Cameron Peters and I'm the CEO and founder of TaxCycle. Data monitors appear down at the bottom of the screen here. So by default, I have 5 of them. And I can add or remove data monitors and I can move them around, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The easiest way to add a data monitor of some kind is to go to the field that you're interested in. So if I open up the T1 jacket, for instance, and if I scroll down to something like line 15,000, I can see total income here. And if I look at the bottom of the screen by my data monitor over on the right-hand side, there's a little plus sign. And when I move my cursor there, you can see that there's a tooltip that says add the current field to the data monitor bar. So when I look at my data monitor bar, I can see in the middle I've got an unused data monitor. So that's probably where TaxCycle is going to put that. If I click plus, you can now see that we're showing total income here, and it's showing a negative value because we have a business income loss. This is a return that I've carried forward, and I haven't entered any data yet. So that's why we've got a negative total income. Maybe let's make this a little more fun by adding some employment income here. And then we'll notice that if we watch the bottom of the screen, the total income is going to change as I enter values. So now that I've got a little more income, you can see that the total income value has gone up to 46,000 and change. You'll also note that as I'm making changes to the return, that some of the fields down at the bottom are showing in bold, and those are the fields that have changed as a result of the last piece of data that you entered. So obviously entering that data changed the total income, it changed the amount of refund, and it changed the family refund, which is all the family members that are part of this group. All those things changed on that value, so they've show in bold. The other thing that you might have noticed when the total income became positive, it changed from a red field to a green field. So by default, when you set up a data monitor, any negative values show in red and positive values show in green. Now, we've got 5 data monitors at the bottom of the screen, and we have no other empty slots here. So what happens if I want to add a data monitor when all of these existing 5 slots are full? Let's take a look at that. So let's go back to the T1 jacket, and we'll scroll down, and maybe we also want to follow net income. So we'll take a look at net income, which is line 23,600. If I do the same thing and press the plus sign down at the bottom to add the current field to the data monitor, you'll see what happens is we get an additional line that's added to the data monitor. So I can add as many data monitors as I like. In fact, I can, fill half the screen if there's, that many fields that I like to monitor. You can really fill your boots, and let's add taxable income. We can do that, and we can scroll down a little further. Maybe we also want to show the federal non-refundable tax credits. I'll hit the plus key again, and you can see that all of these fields are being added to this list. Now, depending on the size of your screen, in this case, you can see that, these data monitors are all quite wide, and maybe it would be helpful to just show more columns. And I can do that by right-clicking anywhere on the data monitor, and I can say increase the number of columns. And each time I click that, it increases the columns by 1. And let's put them all in one row. So now I've got more data monitors and a little more space on my screen because I've tightened those up by adding more columns. Now, there's also some special data monitors, And if you notice over on the right-hand side, I've set those up. So one of the data monitors over here is called prior year. And what that data monitor does is it takes the value of the current field from last year and displays it there. So you can see if you've made any changes. So, one thing that might be of interest, if we go to street address here, you can see the prior year values down at the bottom. If I change this to something else, you can now see that the value here is 3 Candle Court, Southwest, and it shows the prior year as 30046 River Road. The other thing that you can see here is the spouse value, and this is similar in that it takes whatever the current field is and it shows the value on the spouse's return. And because we haven't recalculated the return and this value hasn't been copied over to the spouse yet, it was still showing 3 Candle there. But now once I move back here, you can see that the spouse value on this field is 3 Candle Court, Southwest. Now I can also organize these any way that I like. So for instance, maybe I want this prior year value over on the right-hand side of the screen. If I click on this and drag it over to the right, you can see that prior year is moved over here and the old value is moved back to where prior year used to be. Maybe I also want the refund value over here at the right. I can show the refund value there. Maybe I want the net income, before total income. You can organize this any way you want, and it's strictly by dragging and dropping. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about managing your data monitors, and we'll talk a little bit about option profiles and some other things that you can do. So once I've set all of these data monitors up for the current year, I may want to use the exact same data monitors for other years. And there's a few ways that you can do this. If I right-click here, you can see that I have an option to carry forward the data monitors that I used in a prior year. So if I do that, it will take the data monitors I had set up for 2019 in this case, and it'll copy all of those data monitors over. So that's one way you can do it. By default, if you have your data monitors set up at the end of any given year, when TaxCycle rolls over to the next year, it automatically carries forward those data monitors. So you normally don't have to do that step unless you've changed some things around and you want to go back to whatever you had in the previous year. You'll note that I can also go back to the default data monitors just by clicking this selection here. And if I do that, you'll get a little warning that says that this operation cannot be undone. And I don't actually want to do that today, so I'm just going to click cancel. But we can also manage these data monitors using our options profile. And if I go into my options and I scroll down under T1, because we're working with T1 today, then underneath T1 I'll find data monitors, and then below data monitors I'll see all of the years. So you can see that I have a few data monitors in 2024, not the same ones as I have in 2020. If I go to 2020, you'll see that I've got all of these data monitors that I just set up here. And I can kind of see them spelled out. I can see it's like a special type of data monitor, like when it's showing the prior year value, or when it's showing the spouse value, or when I'm using an actual expression, which is something that we're going to talk about in a little more detail. But if I look at 2020, I can right-click on the year over here on the right-hand side, and I can apply the options that I've set up for 2020 to the previous year, the year right after, or I can say set up all of my monitors for all the years to be exactly like 2020. So that's a way to easily copy these data monitors to every year that TaxCycle supports from 2012 through to 2024. Now, there's some other things that you can think about if you're using options profiles. And if I create an option profile here, which I'm going to do, we'll clone this existing options profile, and we're going to put it in our documents. I'm not going into too much detail about options profiles today, but we'll give it a name that kind of makes sense based on what our seminar topic is today. We'll click Next. And then over on the left-hand side, you can see there's a little arrow and a plus sign. And that's just to say what sort of options I want to include in my options profile that I'm going to share with the colleagues in my office. And data monitors here are selected. So that means if I carry on with this options profile, the data monitors that everybody using this option profile will get will be the ones that we've just set up. Now, another way that you could look at things, and depending on how your office operates with an options profile, you could say that, or you could allow each staff member to create their own data monitors. And if you wanted to do that, you could just untick this box. And then instead of using the option profiles data monitors that we're setting up now, every individual could use their own. So it's a bit of a personal preference or an office preference. Do you want to share your data monitors, which I would suggest normally that you would, because especially if you're setting up some fancy things in your data monitors, it's easier to share them this way, or if you want to allow people to customize them and move them around on their own. Because all the settings come together. So the options profile contains both the position of the options on the bar down at the bottom and the actual values that we're using. Okay, so I'm going to go next, and we're not going to create an email today because we're not really talking about options profiles, but we'll create up this options profile. And now you can see we've got this set here, and I'm going to click OK. So now everything that I'm doing is going to be saved inside of this options profile. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is some default fancier data monitors that we have available to us. And what I'm going to start by highlighting is this data monitor, which is called Refund or Balance Due. Now, just to give you a sense of another thing that the data monitors can do, if I click on any of these fields, they act as a shortcut. So you may want to have some data monitors just to use them as a shortcut. So I clicked on total income. You see the TaxCycle is now showing me total income on my screen. If I want to see taxable income, I can click on taxable income. You can see taxable income shows, etc., etc. Or if I want to look at refund or balance due, I can click on this number, and it shows our refund or balance due. Now, people can be quite particular about how they like to see this field, because some people think the refund should be positive because it's a good thing. Some people think the refund should show as negative because that's how the value in line 150 shows, and some people have other ideas altogether. And this is a place where I've created a few options so you can show the refund or balance due exactly as you like it. And to edit this data monitor, I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to select Edit Data Monitor. And this will give me a view of this data monitor that I can edit and change. And we're going to do a few fancier ones as we kind of move along a little bit. But this is kind of the basics. So in this case, we've got a description that says refund with balance due in brackets. We've got the equivalent in French. The way that we calculate this is the filing 0 minus the filing balance, because I wanted the refund to show positive in my experience, or for my preference. But others feel differently. So if I click on my presets, I'll see that I have a few other ways that I can look at this. So if you like to see the balance due as a positive number and the refund as a negative number, under presets, I can select balance due with refund in brackets. And when I click that, it now changes the descriptions and it changes the expression to be filing balance. And when I click OK, you'll now see that my refund is a negative value. So that makes the refund show in red and balance owing show in green. And let's just, we'll test this by reducing this credit just so I don't have to navigate all over, and we'll have a refund go positive, or we'll have the balance due go positive. Then down at the bottom, you can see it shows balance due refund as $278.92. But I'm going to remove that, and we'll talk about another option here. Now, if you look at editing this data monitor, so we'll go back into this view here. You can see that it shows us a description, French description, and it shows an expression. The expression is the calculation that's made to figure out what's going to be shown in that space. And then below that, we have a color, which says, hey, I could change the color of this thing. So let's take a look at the presets, and we'll see another option here. If I look here, you can see that there's another one that has balance due / refund. And in that case, we're going to do some fancy things with the data monitors to make the presentation of that information a little easier to parse. So if I click balance due, we're going to balance due / refund, we're going to see some changes. So first of all, if we look at the existing values in these fields, you'll note that these are the description, the French description, it's just straight text. But what you're going to see in a minute is if we add an equal sign to the beginning of that, or the very first character of that field, that description becomes something that TaxCycle will calculate for us. And these presets are going to give us some examples of those. So I'm going to select balance due / refund as my preset. And then we're going to see all of these things change. So instead of just having a straight description, we've added an equal sign like I mentioned. And then we have the word COND, which is short for condition. And what that then does is evaluates the expression, the first expression following the bracket, so filing balance greater than 0. And if that is true, so if the filing balance is above 0, the condition returns the first phrase that's enclosed in quotes. And if it's false, the condition returns the second phrase that's enclosed in quotes. And of course, we've done the same thing for French here. And then we've done the same thing at the bottom for color. So we've used that special function called condition. If the filing balance is greater than 0, which means you owe money to CRA, we want the color to be red, and that has to be enclosed in quotes. And then if the filing balance is less than 0 or less, there's a refund, so the value is going to show in green. And then our expression has changed a little bit as well, because we want to show the expression as an absolute value. So if it's negative 56, we want to show it as a positive 56 because we've changed the description to show as refund. So if I click OK here, now you'll see that we have a data monitor that says refund with amount of 5608. And if I change the climate incentive value and edit it down a little bit so that we have some balance owing, you'll notice that we now have a balance due, and at the bottom of the screen we show balance due. It shows in red, and then it shows us the value that's here. So we owe $278.92. So there's a couple of options about how you show that refund or balance owing. This is my personal favorite, and you can see a variety of those, not only for the own return, but for the family and for the spouse and for the husband and wife together, I think. Let's take a look at all the presets. So we can see the combined balance due and refund. That's just husband and partners, I guess is the way I should say that. And the three options are available: combined balance due, combined refund, then family balance for all the family members, the spouse balance refund, and we have a couple of other special ones, taxpayer age on December 31st. So all of those things are available in the presets, and you can see that the way that they're calculated over here on the left-hand side. So you can use these presets to give you some examples of what's possible. And of course, we can create some of our own things as well. So we can make better use out of these data monitors by actually using the description field to show another value. So for instance, let's go up here. And let's take taxpayer age as an example. So one thing we could do down here, I'm going to take the taxpayer age and I'm going to drag it down to one of these fields. We're going to say the net income field. Now it's going to show tax age on December 31st. But now I want to be a little more fancy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the field code here of the birth date. And I'm going to go down to the bottom here and I'm going to edit this data monitor. And instead of this description, I'm going to put an equal sign here and I'm going to paste in the birth date. And I'm going to click OK, and then it's not going to work. That's not very much fun. Or let's do this. Let's do it this way. Let's do the taxpayer name. So I'm going to copy the field, and I'm going to edit this data monitor, and I'm going to put the first name there, and I'm going to add a plus sign here is this old on December 31st. And if I click there, well, this is a great fail. Okay, let's make this simpler. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. It's this. I'll click OK. There we go. So now we have Thomas. And if I edit this, we could try a few other things. Let's go birth date. And I'll click OK. Oh, I still did this wrong. Well, this is fun. We'll edit the data monitor. Maybe I got that wrong. ID, birth date. Okay. Okay, so there we go. So now we can see the client's birth date there, and we can see the client's age. Or we also have another preset for that, which is taxpayer age on December 31st. I can show that like this. And if we look at this data monitor, we're going to see that we've got the description here. And another thing that we've done here is if the taxpayer is over age 65, we're using color red. And if the taxpayer is under 65, we're using color green. So we can use that condition to sort of highlight when things have changed for that particular client. So my advice to you is to use those presets to get some ideas of other things that you can do with your data monitors.